Hello and welcome again to another episode of One Starfish, where our mission is to change the world one starfish or one person at a time. As always, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, share, all the stuff. That's how we get the word out. I love their reviews. They're great to look at. Excited for our guest today. Amanda and I just met. She's from Arte. Also, she lives in Seattle, Washington. Immigrated from Brazil. Now she's in consulting and real estate. Just got married last month, I just found out. So they're dealing, with traveling all over for kids and all of that kind of good stuff, flying all over the world. So busy, busy lady. So excited for her to spend some time with us. So welcome to the show, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Angela. I'm so grateful to be here and to be part of the Arte family and how we can, support each other. I'm super excited to be on your podcast.
Awesome. I'm excited. Well, let's get into, let's go back a little way. So what brought you over from Brazil and how was that transition? I mean, that was a few years ago. Let's tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I actually, one of my aunts on my dad's side, she was the one that kind of migrated to the US probably over like 30, 35 years ago. And, for a lot of other countries, we kind of look at the US as a little bit of, the dream place to be. Not that I had any eager and ideas of coming here, but my parents did. So they moved up here for, just a better living situation, work opportunities, and also to raise me. I'm the only kid. So I moved here when I was 14 and been here since. I also lived in Seattle, which I know it's a contradiction coming from a very hot country, but that's where we landed. And have just, grown so much in here. It was definitely a challenge in the beginning. I would say it took me a good 5 years to acclimate to the language, to the weather, just to the different culture. It was definitely very shocking, to say the least. I did not come knowing anything in English, so just kind of learning from the ground. But it's been an amazing opportunity that I'm very grateful that through the growing pains, but that my parents, did that change.
Awesome. And then did you move originally to Seattle or was that further along?
No, yeah. So since day one, at the time my aunt was living here, who she still lives here in Seattle. So we always have lived in Seattle. We always try in the winter time to maybe go down to Florida for just a little warmer, climate to break the cold. But Seattle has always been home.
That's awesome. I love it. So you got into consulting and then you, like you said, there's some changes. We were chatting before in the last few years when the world kind of went whatever, things happened and things changed. And that was a catalyst for you, you said, to make you think about different things. And now you're in real estate. So tell us a little bit about, how that transition and where you're at now and where do you see the next 5 to 10 years going for you?
Yeah, absolutely. It was very interesting. I mean, I have my background in business. I always love business. And then I've been working the corporate world for the last, 15 years doing tech consulting with big companies here in Seattle that everybody's probably familiar with, like Microsoft. It's been one of my biggest clients, leading a lot of different programs, managing a lot of people. And I was really feeling fulfilled. I thought that was going to be my trajectory in my career, just to continue to grow and continue to become a leader in this area. And it was not until the pandemic hit, I was already working remotely. So I didn't have felt the change for some other people that had to adjust to maybe some remote type of work. I was already doing that, but for me, actually squeezed me. I'm a very personable person. So already working from home, I need my time to get out of the house. So going through the pandemic, it was definitely a little challenge. A lot of people were at home. And then I started thinking, like if there was something else for me, even though I was doing something I was, really loved, but there was always that little bug in my ear that I wanted to do something for myself. I didn't want to have a boss per se. And so, had some influence in some other friends that was already in the real estate career, telling me that they thought, I know a lot of people in the community. I'm a very community oriented person that, it would be a great, shift for me. I still hesitated for a little bit. I was just like, before I do that, I'm going to go and interview through all the other big companies that I ever maybe thought I wanted to work for before I made this, huge change in my career. And I did that, for 4 or 5 months, and I was getting to final interview processes. I was actually feeling sick in my stomach of how many interviews I did at that time. But nothing was feeling right. I would get an offer for a role. It was either like, the role sounds okay, and they want to, pay me less and just give me tons of stocks. I was just like, I don't want your stocks. I want a good pay from the beginning. And long story short, I actually decided to finish my real estate licenses just because I don't like to start things and not finish. So I went more with that mindset at first. I'm just going to finish this. I don't know if I'm going to do anything about it. And as I was getting closer to the end, I was getting very excited. I was getting myself a little bit more into some real estate meetings and meeting a few other people in the industry. And then I made the commitment that I wanted to do real estate for 1 year alongside my full-time job, but I was going to give my all, and it was either going to be a hate or love situation. And I have to say, probably 30 days in, I was just like, I absolutely love this, but I still obviously stay with my commitment to work as hard as I possibly could in my first year. So here I am a year and a half later. That's definitely what I want to do, but it was not something I planned to go like, from one field to the other. I didn't have all these savings that I could just jump the shift and just go. I know some people have a little bit more that, I'm just that risk. I am a little bit more calculator risk person. I need to have a little bit more plan. And I've been doing, both. It is definitely crazy. I feel like my brain goes for every hour to different type of work, because I still have 3 different big teams that I manage for my tech consulting job. And then naturally, because I love helping people, I started growing my real estate team, which was not my plan at all in the beginning. And I already have 16 different agents across the US, part of my team. And that's something that I really want to grow. I just love helping people, coaching, and it's just a natural thing. So it's been a challenge. It's still a daily challenge sometimes, but I'm very committed to what I'm doing right now.
That's awesome. So what do you find some of your biggest challenges are, and how do you overcome them?
Yeah, I would say probably the, time and scheduling. It's the biggest one, as I still have, other responsibilities, and it has to be on my calendar, right? I feel like I know people say it can sound so boring, be on your calendar, but that's the only way that I can create boundaries for me. I have a family, as I said, I got married in the midst of it all, planning a wedding, and kids. So still want to be present. I still do a lot of the cooking in the home. So I just need to kind of like really plan my day the best that I can. I am very focused on my social media as well. So some of that is, I need to just, plan all my content. My calendar, what's going to be posted every single day of the whole month, because I do have posts going out every month. And then I think the other biggest part of like helping with the challenge, it's to delegate, right? There's just things that you cannot do it all in your business. So far I already have like 2 virtual assistants that help me with some of my, low-hanging fruits activities, putting my newsletters together to go out every week, just to kind of get that touch out, and then they kind of post some of my content, even though I'm very still part of it. I record all my videos just using my iPhone, mostly at my house, and then I just send for them to kind of edit and post it. So scheduling, it's like the key. It's not always pretty because things can always change, on a daily basis, but I try to stay on that as much as I can, so I just don't lose my brain a little bit.
So, and what about your like family and support? How has that been throughout all of these changes?
That's been like, the hugest part. Obviously when I decided to, do real estate, and I knew I had another full-time job at the time, my fiance, we had to have a sit down conversation. I say, hey, might have like weekends I might be working, some evenings I might be having to show homes. So it was a conversation that we had to have. And he's been my, bigger supporter since day one. But so as my family and my close friends, I feel like, that has been the hugest blessing in my end. for them to support me. Sure, there has been time that I had, somewhat close friends that decided to work with a different agent to buy a home, but I don't think offense or anything like that. You need to work with some big decisions with who you feel comfortable with. It's a business, but, I'm always just striving to do my best to whoever I'm working with. But yeah, it's just, a lot of conversations. There is some non-negotiable times, with my family. There's just sometimes that I would just totally say no to my clients if it's something that I already had committed, with my family, like special occasions, right? But also they understand, like I remember when I started my first YouTube channel, my stepdaughter, she was always watching it for me, which I thought was super cute.
That is. So what are some things that are non-negotiables for you? That's an interesting thought. And I think what a lot of mothers especially struggle with when they're running a business is the quote balance, which I don't really believe there's a balance, but how do you structure your life so that your family, like what is your priorities and how do you structure that?
Yeah, just, for example, especially right now that I'm still, in the midst of doing two jobs, I'm a woman faith and I love going to church. So I had to tell myself Sunday is my day off because I was working like 7 days a week, nonstop. So Sunday is the day we go to church, we have our family lunch, and then whatever we want to do, if we want to, depending how the weather is, are we staying in or out? But that's most of the time, to check in with family. I'm very close with my extended family. They all live around the area. So, spend a lot of time with them. And even in my, relationship with my husband, we have a day a week that is our, our talk time. We need to have a time to connect. I'm not saying that it's a specific time. It's just like, as an example, it's always Monday. So sometimes it can happen before dinner or after dinner, but it will happen, on that evening. And then also it's an evening that I will, unless I'm closing a deal, if it's something that can wait, it will wait to the next day. But there was just some of the things that we kind of talked about it, that we needed to put some structure. We need to have date night every 2 weeks. That's non-negotiable. Not a specific date, but it will happen, within that week. We just look at both of our calendars and we make that happen. Again, just need to have quality time. It's no work conversation time. I always say, like, I don't want to talk about work. We'll do that in another time. This is just about us and, and connecting. My kids, they love to watch TV, as probably most of them. So they always like another, TV show. Before, on my single years, I actually used to not own a TV because I was just so much focused in doing other things. So that's been an adjustment, but it's just like that little routine that you need to also create, for your family. So definitely try to do that, but they do understand if there is a evening here and there that I, need to miss dinner, or I'm just going to come later and then we'll watch that show together.
That was cool. Yeah, I don't have TV either, so got you there. I don't know, Netflix, I don't have anything. Yeah, don't need it. But that's really neat. So then, and then how do you prioritize the work in between that? Like when you are working, how hard are you working?
Yeah, no. So what I do, like, with my full-time job, there's certain meetings that I just know I have to be there. So I literally just booked between my different, worlds in one calendar, right? So that I can, participate. I have a lot of different masterminds within my real estate, team. And then I have my own team meetings and when I'm onboarding new agents into my team. So that kind of goes a little bit, I have today, like Friday, it's my team's meeting. So I do that. I do a recap of what's going on, just to keep engaged, with whoever is participating. I send some text just to check in and see how everybody's doing. But it's not a perfect world. I try to, as much as I can every week, to have everything laid out. I am, if sometimes someone might say like, hey, let's grab a coffee, either for work or friends. I might be like weeks out, but that's just kind of how it is, because I'm trying sometimes, just like, I'm going to be gone next week for work. So the week after, I'm like, no happy hours evenings with anyone, because that's family time. I'm going to be gone for a whole week. So when I come back, I cannot do that. So just those things that you just kind of adjust as you go. But that's kind of a little bit how I prioritize. But as you said, it's not a perfect balance. It's not, work hard. I'm definitely I'm trying to grow as fast as I can so that, maybe the relaxation, I don't know what that is. It will come at some point. I love to travel. So that's kind of usually my little, getaway moments to myself, or if I'm spending that with, with my partner.
So your priorities are very solid. Have they always been that way, or was there something that really shook you that made you? I'm reading a book called Essentialism right now, and it's about, you got to say no to things to say yes to things. So really getting clear on your priorities is really important. You're really clear on them, I feel like. So did that just naturally happen, or where did you start to get so structured?
Well, I have to say that I always been structured, but I always said yes to everything. So that was very crazy. Like, family things, work things, friends things, like I was always the yes person, I'll figure it out. So I was just getting burned out, even though I was being structured, but I was getting burned out so much because I felt that was a way to show appreciation to other people, right? If they're reaching out to me, I should make time. And there's some part of me that I still have a little bit more of that. But now I just think like, I need to have time to make sure I'm not going insane. And, the last month and a half, it has been completely crazy just because of the wedding, coming back and catching up with work. So I was definitely feeling like I was, running, 200 miles an hour. I even felt like my body was trying to tell me to slow down because I got sick this week. So today's like my first day that I'm feeling like a human. So your body will tell you as well. But yeah, and I always love structure. I feel like that's, I don't know, for better or worse, it's been me. Maybe it's just my, business background. And I just feel like if things are not structured, it doesn't happen. I'm just really big with my word. So that's why, with all these yeses, it just became such a burden in some ways because I felt like people wouldn't understand. Or, if someone took the time to tell me they wanted to hang out, I need to figure out time. And things just change. I feel like, we just the seasons of life and maturity and age, just being okay to say no, being okay not to take a responsibility that shouldn't be yours. And that's huge for me with my family because they're so used to just, my extended family, I'm very like caring with my grandparents and my parents, and because as you name it, like it's very big family. And
Latino culture there.
Exactly. So they're, that's, I feel like even it was an adjustment for them in the beginning when they were hearing a little bit more no's from me. Then it was always like, hey, can you do this? Can you translate this? Can you call this appointment? So it felt like it was just one ask, but what they didn't know, I had multiple asks coming around from different people. And I would be doing my things and just like, calling a doctor, scheduling this other thing or going with them in an appointment to translate. So I was just kind of like, you guys been here for a long time. I think you can do it now. so,
Wow. And that'd have been hard.
it was
So
really
how,
hard.
how did you navigate that? Because I know I can tell your family is very important for you to say
Yeah.
no to something like that. And a lot of people would say that you can't say no to that stuff. So like,
oh, I know.
more about that. Give some people that are listening some like tips and tricks on,
Yes.
how to say no to family, especially.
I think some of it's just you understanding what is important to you as well, because I was always putting me on the last of the list. So like if do I actually have the mental bandwidth, right? And sometimes we just want to say yes, but other days like I literally like I just need to take a nap today, and if I will go do this one thing, I don't think I can function for the rest of the week. So I think you need to just have those daily check-ins with yourself. And are you really stretching yourself too thin? And I think I think the biggest aha moment in a way is just like I will take care better of them if I am taking care of myself. And that was just like, really hard for me, to transition into that. And probably I don't have like a book or anything. Like I'm always trying to, self-improvement kind of stuff, type of books and podcasts and just listening because saying no, it was actually to myself first, like, and more just being able to, and I had to have talks. Like, for example, with my mom, I was just like, hey, gonna get into this other world. I am not gonna be able to show up to everything you guys invite me. You know, I'm gonna have to balance things out. So I think initially having that conversation with the more key people that maybe it's gonna be impacted on, so that at least they don't feel like out of surprise that you're all of a sudden saying all these no's and they can take personal and feel like, you know, maybe they've done something to you and they're all offended and whatnot. But you know, in a lot of surprises for me as well, is just that after a while that you do some of that, you can see that people understand, you know, like they might feel like, oh, wow, she cannot do that, you know, but then it's just kind of like you're allowing them to actually take care of themselves a little bit too, you know, which is, it's a big thing. And this is to grown-ups, right? This is not to kids or anything like that, but it's just allowing them to see that they can do it, because you can be that support and that help for so long, or that pillar, that you kind of are enabling them to not grow. And I mean, like, this is like a super silly thing. I would go to a store with my mom, and she immediately, if someone would ask a question, and she would just look at me like, and I'm like, are you serious? That was the simplest question ever. But because she's just so used to just like, you know, I'm there. So sometimes I would see someone coming to her, like, being like, oh, do you need help? You know, like at a clothing store or something, like, I'll hide. I would hide in the store just to let her have the conversation, because I just like, this is ridiculous, you know. But
Wow.
yeah. And I felt silly at the same time, but I was just like, you know, I need to, she needs to feel like it's okay. She can do this. Even if she's around me, she just doesn't need to look at me like, you know, rescue me or kind of, you know, type of situation or attitude. But it's, you know, like, as I said, it's still a balance. You know, there's days that I still go back to some of those bad habits, and I feel like it's just creating more awareness, and just kind of quickly, you know, getting back to it, and being able to ask sometimes too, like, because usually I'm the one that is being asked, you know, and some other, you know, family things that were going on, and I was just more kind of like, hey, I need your help this day, this time. Thank you.
Right. I think that's so cool. So, you know, anyone listening, like sometimes by saying no, you actually enable other people to become stronger. And, you know, and also asking for help gives people that opportunity to help you. That's something I've had to learn. And then that makes them stronger too. So asking for help is good, and saying no is good.
Yeah.
Actually, not just for you, but for the person that you're, you know, saying no to, or you're asking for help. So think that's, you know, a key thing to really pay attention to. So, you know, I love this. This is awesome. What do you see what's your vision for the next 5 to 10 years with, you know, with real estate and
Yeah.
with your family? And
Yeah, no, my goal here within just, you know, the next 5 years, it's to be 100%, you know, doing real estate. Actually, my goal in the next year, it's to, you know, fully be, you know, into real estate. I definitely want to continue to grow my team. I feel like that's the area that I strive the most. So I'm going to be putting a lot of effort and energy into just, you know, coaching other real estate agents, especially the ones that are, you know, in the beginning stages. You're not always get a lot of support. I did, but you know, you don't always get support when you're making a change.
mm-hmm.
Um, and it can be a tough market, you know, if you don't know what you want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're not really solid. And you know, like, as I said, I do have two, you know, step kids that I'm helping, you know, my husband grow, but we do want to have at least one kid. So there's kind of in the near future here. So I'm working really hard, because there's some goals that I want to try to achieve, if possible, before that time comes around. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I feel like in 10 years, 5 years, maybe not, but in 10 years, I see that we might either have other properties in other locations, or we might be moving somewhere a little bit more warmer, or the sun shines a little bit more than in Seattle.
Yeah.
That's something we talk about it. We don't have like a location or anything like that, but I feel like it has to be on the coast, you know, like we love the water a little too much. But so we'll see what happens. But that's some of the things that, you know, I love traveling the world. That was one of my goals in my late 20s, to just, you know, explore the world. So I've been in over 20 countries. So that's something that I want to continue to do. And even with work or not, that's always been a priority for me. So getting to go to new countries.
I love that. Wow, that's so cool. That's awesome. So in wrapping up, I always ask 3 final questions, and then anything
Yeah.
that we didn't touch on that you think are really impactful for our listeners to hear. First final question is, if someone's looking for their purpose, what's one sentence you could say that could help them find it?
Wow. I would say take your time with yourself. I feel like we do not do that. We want to find answers out there, but sometimes their answer is already with us, but we're just not staying quiet enough, really to write it down. I feel like in the end of the day, we can get inspired by, other speakers and things like that, but we hear so much, but then what are you doing with that? So you need to kind of take time with yourself.
That's good. Number 2, what's a favorite quote and why?
Ooh, favorite quote. I feel like I post so much of that even on my social media. I don't know if I would say is a quote more than like something that actually it's more like a Bible verse. Sorry to throw that out there, but I just love Jeremiah 29:11, which is just saying that God has the plans for you, plans for a future, for a hope. And that's something just like it's a positive thing for me to know, like whatever is going on today, it's still there's hope. There's a better future, there is a better plan. So I really focus on that.
I love it. Super awesome. And third and final question is, what's one word or sentence you want on your gravestone?
Generous.
Generous. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you run into someone in a coffee shop and they're like, hey, Amanda, that was awesome. I'm learning this whole balance thing, like doing all this stuff. I love that. This is the biggest thing I got out of this podcast myself. But what's something we didn't touch on that you think would be really impactful for, for people to move forward, to be successful, or to follow their dreams, or to balance their life, or whatever we kind of talked about? What is something we didn't talk about that you just think they need
Yeah, one thing that I would have loved to touch on that I think it has been super impactful for me, especially in the last year or so, is that I hired a life coach, and I feel like that has been transforming my life. And one, it's making me find my purpose because I'm touching the areas in my life that maybe was in the back burner. I wasn't thinking about it, but it's what it built who I am. So I feel like I've been understanding who I am and what are the things that maybe was trying in my childhood, was just trying to label me or to make me feel in certain way, or just created a type of fear that it's not there, right? It was just because of how things happen in your life, or traumas or different things. So I feel like that has been, whatever you want to call life coach, a mentor, a coach. I feel like it's so important. If there was one thing that I could say, I know sometimes they can be pricey, but I feel like it's going to be worth every single penny you spend on that.
Good. Invest in yourself. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Guys, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, share this with especially any moms. I just think that was really impactful that are in business, because I know I have some on my team that I think this will be really helpful to help them, quote, balance or structure their life and not feel guilty. So, let's go out there, guys. Let's change the world one starfish or one person at a time. If we can change one life at a time together, we can change the world. Thanks so much for being on.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Angela. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.